Howdy, welcome to lessonswithtroy.com. I'm Troy Brenningmeyer. Well, this week's lesson is for the E9 pedal steel, 10-string E9 pedal steel, and it's going to be volume number 8 for my basics lesson. And in this one, I'm covering these two diagrams that I made. This would be diagram number 1 and diagram number 2. And what these are is this is a way to get C6 sounds out of your E9 lap steel. So sometimes you might see lap steels that have two necks. Well, one of those necks is a C6 neck, so C6 tuning for the pedal steel. Now, you also have like C6 lap steel, and this is kind of like that too, where you're getting 6th chords and dominant 7th chords and 9th chords. And it's real easy ways to get sounds that work for Western swing, like a blues kind of sound, any kind of blues song that has more of a swing feel to it, where you don't necessarily want just a straight up major triad or major chord. You really want to add something to it, the 6th or the 9th in there. I play in a band where we do lots of Wayne Hancock songs, and one time I tried to play just this pedal steel, just using what I knew at the time, which was just major chords, and it was missing that 6th of the chord, really, to give it that swing sound. So I'm going to show you some real easy ways to kind of do that. So let me just play through this jam track that I made with Band in a Box, and it's in the key of E, and it kind of has that swing feel to it, and you can kind of hear what some of these chords sound like. So let me do this, and then I'll be playing this throughout just to kind of give you examples, but here's what it sounds like. That's just an example. So let's go ahead and jump on into this diagram, and I'll show you what all this stuff means. Okay, first of all, let's just start at the very top. We got the title here, and I'm calling this my Easy View Movable Chord Tree. So what's going on here is, check out this home fret with this red arrow here. Now what this is a movable kind of chord diagram, and I'm calling it a chord tree because it kind of starts here at the top. So in number 1, this is your 1 chord. If you didn't push down any levers or pedals, and you were just grabbing what the strings that I've showed you in other lessons, and that being said, most everything I show you today ties right into what we've already learned chord-wise in all of our other pedal steel basics lessons. So right here, that's that 1 chord, what's called open position, means you're not pushing down on any pedals or levers. And things are just going to build off of this, I call it my home fret here, where you either go to the right, however many frets, or to the left, however many frets. And I describe whether you're pushing pedals down or levers or combinations of pedals and levers. And the Roman numerals here, let's just go through each little symbol here. Roman numerals mean what interval of the scale that chord is built off of. For example, Roman numeral 1, that's your 1 chord, 4 chord, 5 chord. Now, keep in mind, we're not going to be using minor chords in this one. It's just really more for that blues kind of swing thing where you're using 1, 4, 5 chords. Maybe down the road, I'll make diagrams like this for other chord types, minor chords or more complex chords. But for right now, we're just thinking 1, 4, 5. I want to keep it real simple and not overwhelm you here. Now, that being said, if you zoom in to this chord, I've also got what each note of the chord these strings are. For example, 5 means the 5th of your chord. R would mean the root of your chord. 3, the 3rd of your chord. And check out the colors too. You may be wondering, what does the different colors mean? Well, what's in red, that's the strings or the notes that you're going to play. Now, that being said, you're not in red, you're not pushing down on any pedals or levers there. It's just played open. Open, not meaning open strings, you know, you're open meaning on pedal steel, open means you're not, you could be still barring on a certain fret, but you're not pushing down on any pedals or levers. And what's in blue, those are strings or notes that you're changing with either a pedal or a lever. For example, if you look over here, here's our one chord in our home fret position. If we go up 3 frets, notice the arrow, up 3 frets, so 1, 2, 3, and we push our A pedal and F lever, that gives us what's called an inversion of this chord. So what was, let's say, root, third, fifth right there. Now we go down a string, or down, you know, as far as the grouping of strings. Now we got root, third, fifth. So it's just an inversion of that chord. And what's in parentheses here, that's the lever or the pedal that is going to be changing what's in blue there, our blue dots. So that kind of gives you a lot of different information. What's X'd out there, that means you're not going to play those strings. But I still wanted to put what that note would be if you did play it, just so you really have all the information there right under your fingers. So we've got the chord number. We've got in red and blue what you're going to be playing. Blue, you're going to be using pedals or levers. Red, you're just playing without pushing down a pedal or a lever. And then those are X'd out. You're not playing them, but you can still tell what chord tone that is. That's what these are called too, your chord tones. Root, third, fifth, root, third, fifth. So with 6 chords, let's go down to our first change to give us that swing sound. With these chords, you're not really going to get much of a swing sound. Now I'm going to touch more on this chord in just a second, but let's focus in here. A real simple way to get a 6th chord is to just push your A pedal down. And check out, that's where we get that 6th of the chord there. So let's say we're in the key of E and we're up on the 12th fret and I push my A pedal down. Okay, that changes this 10th string and 1, 2, 3, 4 and my 5th string to the 6th of the chord then. Now you might be saying to yourself, well, isn't that a minor chord? You know, isn't that, what would that be? The minor, the relative minor of that one chord? And it actually is, but it also is the 6th, a major 6th chord as well. So it's kind of the same chord. It's just how you're going to be using that chord. And for this one, I really wanted to show you how to get really cool swinging 6th, 9th, 7th chords out of stuff you already know how to play. You're just thinking of it in a different way. Now, let me go back up to here. Now, me being a dobro player and then lap steel and now finally pedal steel, this chord is really important to me. Check out the intervals there. Root, third, fifth, root, third, fifth. That's just like a dobro tuning, right? GBD, GBD, root, third, fifth, root, third, fifth. So for me, pushing my A pedal down, F lever, going up 3 frets from my home position there, that gives me a really cool, let's say we're in the key of E and I go up to my 3rd fret. That gives me all that what I call the, all those X patterns, or that X pattern. And you can't really see what I'm playing right now, but if you're a dobro player, you may know what I'm talking about when, you know this home position here and how to kind of get your blues licks and things like that. So that's real important for me. You can get lots of licks out of this chord with that 5th of the chord on top there. You can walk up into it 2 frets behind, or walk back down to it 2 frets behind. Or you can play what I call the X pattern. So that, anyways, I can show you that in a future lesson. But that's a really cool. You got lots of licks there right under your fingers of that one chord with root, third, fifth on top. Okay, now check this out. This is a real important thing that you're going to be doing a lot. When you have your 6th chord here, a lot of times, if you just move 2 frets back, you're doing the same, pushing down the same levers, playing the same. Well, actually are changing up the strings a little bit there. But that gives you a dominant version of the chord you just played. A ninth chord is a substitution for what they call a dominant seventh chord. Not diminished, but dominant seventh chord. So it works great for blues. And a lot of times you'll hear people like Eddie Rivers or a lot of those lap steel swing guys who they kind of go, work in between these two frets. And actually Eddie Rivers mentioned it on his YouTube video. Those videos are really great, called Western Swing Rules. And I really love Eddie Rivers' playing. But anyways, he talks about kind of working in between that. So if we're, let's say, I'm on the 12th fret with my E6 chord there, and I'm playing that. Okay, if I just grab, let's say, if I grab 6th root 3rd, right? These three notes right there. Okay. Or even, these three notes or these three notes, whatever three notes you want. And just kind of walk it back 2 frets. Check this out. So that totally gives you that sound of that ninth chord. So let me do that with the jam track. Kind of show you what I mean here. Walk it back. Go to 5th fret for my A6. Walk it back 2 frets. Back to 12th fret for E6. 7th fret. So that would be just an example there. And you're going to be doing that, at least I do it all the time, probably way too much, honestly, where just taking that 6th chord, which already sounds swingy, because you got the 6th in there. And then walking that back 2 frets, and check out the intervals we get there. We get 5th, flat 7, which totally sounds bluesy, root 9th, which a 7th chord, just so you know, that's made up of root, 3rd, 5th. That's what's called a major triad. So it's a major chord with what's called the flatted 7th. Normally you have a major 7th, but for a dominant chord that works great over blues, all kinds of, swing, jazz, stuff like that, flat that 7th and then add the extension of a 9th there, and then you get what's called a 9 chord. So if we move the E chord back 2 frets, A pedal down, that would be an E9 is what they would call it. On your 12th fret, that would be an E6 or open position, E6 chord. And very simple, just move that back 2 frets and walk it down, walk it up, pick maybe 2 strings or 2 strings or 3 strings, whatever, kind of leave that up to you as far as what you're going to be picking there. Okay, let's move on down here. Now here's our 4 chord. So if we were, say, on a 12th fret and we wanted to play the 4 chord, we push our A and B pedal down, right? And that gives us, if we add one other note in there, right, that gives us, it would be an A6 chord, but the 4 chord in that key, let's say. So here's our home fret. We're going down. And all we got to do is take what we already know, and we're just playing. Normally we would avoid this string here. That's 10, 9, 8, the 7th string, right? Normally we would avoid that. See how we get our normal grips there? We avoid that. But if we want to add that 6th, we don't even have to do anything different other than just play that note. So I push my A and B pedal down. And because I'm playing the 6th of my chord there, as opposed to normally I would skip over that note, that totally gives me that great 6th chord. On the 12th fret, that would be an A6 chord. And then, as you probably already know, anytime you got that 4 chord, just move it up 2 frets for your 5 chord. So that would be a B6 chord if you played that on your 14th fret, the 5 chord of the key of A. And key of E. Key of E. So I'll just kind of use E as our example because I made this jam track in the key of E. Okay. Now, same thing as I was talking about here, where if you have this 6 chord, move it back 2 frets. Now, we are going to do something a little bit different here, where if you take your A and your B pedal off, right, and you just push your E lever. Now, that being said, here's my key that tells what all the pedals and levers do. So the E lever is going to lower my E strings a half step. So check out this 4 chord here. This is a 4/6 chord, right? And another version of that 6th chord. Now, we're not going to make this dominant here. This is still a version of a 6 chord. And so if you go back 2 frets and notice the arrows on all of these, that tells you, how many frets to go either forward or back from your home fret position here. So if we take that 4 chord back 2 frets, let off of A and B pedal, and push my E lever. For me, it's left knee lever right, but it's the one that lowers your E strings. So, and then notice all the strings you can play here that work with that. The only string that doesn't work is the 9th string, but all of these strings give you notes in that 6 chord. And notice what notes make up a 6 chord. Root 3rd, 5th with the 6th. So it doesn't have the 7th of the chord in there. That's the big trick there for those 6 chords. So let's try that. Let me try to play an example of that. If I do that for my 1, 4, 5 chords, okay, do this kind of voicing, let's say. The E version, E6 version of this chord, keep that in mind. Normally, an E chord would be on your 7th fret, right? That's a major E. Now, if I let off A and B, push my E lever down, and go back 2 frets, that's going to be an E6 chord. And that would be on my 5th fret. I know you can't see what I'm doing, but 5th fret with my E lever. And I'm off of A and B, so no A and B pedals. There's my 1 chord in the key of E, 5th fret, right? E lever. Look at all those strings we can play there. Now, if I want to make that my 4 chord, I'm just going to move up to the 10th fret, okay, for an A6. And then move that up 2 frets to 12th fret for a B6. So 5th fret, E6, 10th fret, A6, and 12th fret, B6. Let me play that and check out how these voicings work with this jam track. 5th fret. Move it back 2 frets now. I'm on my 10th fret for my A6. 5th fret. Go up to 12th fret for your 5 chord. So I know you can't see what I'm doing. That might be slightly frustrating for you, but keep in mind, it's very simple what I'm doing. I'm just taking whatever would be that A and B pedal major chord. Remember, if we're in the key of E, that'd be 7th fret. I move it back 2 frets. That's the trick here. Move it back 2 frets, take off your A and B pedal, just push your E lever, and that gives that version of that chord. And anytime I wanted a dominant version of that, I just did really the same thing, and I just kind of moved that back 2 frets. Same thing for all these chords as far as this voicing of that chord. Okay, and then this one here, this is just another version of your 1 major 6 chord, and that's just up 5 frets from this home position. Gives you another version of a 6 chord. Now these 2 chords I really wanted to touch on. These are great versions of dominant 9th chords, has that dominant 7th in there. And I do have to give credit on Facebook, Bob Watson, one of my friends on Facebook. I had posted me playing something on me jamming along to a Wayne Hancock tune, and he mentioned to push the A and B pedal down with your E lever, okay? And check out where this is in relation to this chord here. So here's our home fret. So here's normally your 4 chord, right, is right under your 1 chord and on this home fret position here. But if you just move that back 2 frets, right, 2 frets, and A and B pedal down with your E lever, check out this chord that gives us. So let's say we want to, well, I'll keep this in over the 4 chord. So if we're in the key of E, that would be normally 12th fret, A and B is your 4 chord, your A chord. So we're going to move that back 2 frets and drop your E's, right? Push your E lever in. Now check out the string you don't want to play on this one. Really, you can play almost all these strings. You're just avoiding that 9th string there. And that gives us an A9 chord. So if we... So some of these sound better, as far as the voicing goes than other. I'll let you kind of use your ear, and grab whatever you want. But that a dominant 9th chord. So if I use that, let's say, if I used it on every chord, it might sound a little weird. But if I use that on my 4 chord especially and my 5 chord, it sounds really cool. So let me I'll do this version of my 1 chord. So that would be there on my 5th fret. And then when I go to that 4 chord, I'll put in this dominant 9th 4 chord. And remember, that's A and B pedal with E lever, but you're back 2 frets from your home position there. So let me try that and I'll show you what I mean. Try it again. Make sure I'm in tune with those pedals. Here we go.